This is Talking My Walking. I am Rodrigo Ribeiro, just another voice in the wilderness. There is no lack of information. There is no lack of the means to communicate it. Therefore, what, what is missing? What is missing? We all know that there is censorship. People are being censored, sanctioned, banned, their accounts suspended. That is true, and that is relevant. That's also the algorithmic censorship, which means that there is a it's another it's against the spread of decent voices, decent voices, and decent probably. So what is missing then? What is missing for us, for the general public, to form, to develop a uniform, not a uniform, but a united, but also a common, a organized, united, common goal and objective to fight against what most of us can understand, or we know that there are evils. What's going on in Israel, in Gaza, or in Iran, or what's going on in many places, and what's going on in our countries, in Western countries. The problem is not the problem is not exactly that we are not able to understand the reality. The problem is not because we cannot access the information. The problem is not that we cannot unite. It seems as if we are unable, but that's not true. We can and could do it. The problem is that we are under a multi-layered, multi-dimensional war, mind warfare, psychological, emotional, cognitive warfare. That's not only cognitive. We have to understand that the war against us, in the sense that is a war against our ability to be able to come together and organize and unite, is a war that has many levels, many dimensions, and uses all means at the disposal, technological, scientific, political, cultural, all the means, economic for sure, and financial as well. So the problem is, to start with, is that what it's the that we are dispersed, or we are guided towards certain. We can say that we are biased, and we just want to we just look for information that is confirmation bias, which means that we just want to feel to we just become more of the same. But that's not the issue. The issue is that there is many this multi-layered war uh, that is using weapons of mass deception and mass distraction is very powerful. Is that, and it has nothing to do with our, I mean, it the these wars are wars that do not require, no, it's not about choice. I would like us to really understand this. This has nothing to do with choice or this or free decision or being intelligent or stupid. It's just because we cannot. I mean, it's very easy for us to engage, since we are social beings. We 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 are easily hooked psychologically and emotionally. You know, we don't really go through through uh, the the sieve to separate the wheat from the shaft. No, we don't really do it. First, because we are not incentivized to do it, and unless it is part of who you are, that you are you don't, if something doesn't if the something doesn't sound uh, uh, good, you need to dig deeper. But some of us are not like that, and that's fine. But that's fine to a certain extent, because then we are easily manipulated. The truth, so and that and this and then information doesn't matter. That's when I say, and I say it frequently, that intellectual understanding is not enough. This is true. This is really true. Of course, it's important when we grasp things, when we understand them at intellectual level. They it is a breakthrough, okay, and it's important, but it doesn't change the reality of who we are, how we behave, much less to to change our habits. You know, we are not going to start to um, we are not going to change unless there is this process of conscious transformation that is intentional, that out of that intellectual awareness we intentionally move to the next stage, because we think we need to have um, we need to be participatory. We need to participate, to have political, uh, cultural, social participation, and that participation cannot happen unless we really think what what do we want to achieve. If there are problems, we identify the problems, we make a diagnosis, and then we have to understand how do we go from the a disease to health, to a dysfunctional system to a healthy system. What are the measures that we need to take? What are the policies? What kind of system? What kind of society? A society is a system of systems, just like our body. As a living organism, we are composed of different systems. So that our body, our organism, as a whole system, we are a system, but a system composed of several systems. That's what the society is also. What do we need to change in order to create a healthy civilization, a healthy society? And by healthy, I really mean that we have a culture that is not versus nature, but a culture that is part of nature, within the web of nature. As well as us as a species, we are not above the other forms of life. We have no, are not superior. And I mean, we are not superior. That's what we need to really feel. And to feel something, you can feel it. But again, this is a whole process, a whole conscious transformation that when you feel, and you intellectually know that you are not superior because you are part of life, we have a lot of weaknesses. But then the most important step is when we as a whole, when we together, that's exactly the point of conscious transformation. It's because we really move as a whole, as a psycho-cognitive, affective entity. Okay, not as that just because we understand intellectually. We need, and then the entity that is also a sociocultural individual, and part of a society, which is our way of survival, our way to thrive. That's why we need society and civilization to be functional, to be humanized. So there is no lack of information. There is too much information, actually. We cannot. I mean, we spend, we scroll, we entertain. I mean, that's also. Do we have the right to have do we have the right to have fun? To when we are young, we need. I mean, when we are old as well, but especially when we are young, we need to have fun and entertain and go to party and this and that, which we need to intermingle with. Both sexes need to intermingle. I mean, that's this part of socialization process, and also part of the maturing process. So, to have fun, to feast, uh, to, um, to do all these things that we, for most of us, it's good things. We need to understand that we also need to also have a more serious part, which is to understand the system and how it works, and how we are manipulated and instrumentalized, indoctrinated and instrumentalized to become tools. And this is not a choice. As human beings, we become instruments of our culture. And our culture is not just the music and literature and this and that. Our culture is everything, is the environment, is the how the economy is organized. Is how the economy is organized, is how is how the policies are designed, what is the objective, since politics is about power. It's about the decisions that are going to affect society, to affect people's lives, to have the economy, or everything. So we, in that's why we, I mean, it is, I mean, in a class caste system, whether you believe that it needs to exist or not, which I believe that we don't need, we don't need, and it is a perverse system, because since it becomes structural as it is in our societies all over the world, it becomes normalized and naturalized, and our cultures just work as if this is the reality, and for most of us, we that's how we see. This is the lenses through which we understand reality. The existence of classes is just normal. So for many of us it is. For me it is not. It needs to be abolished. We don't need it. We need to organize. We can organize our societies in many other ways. We can have a horizontal hierarchy, in the sense that we have we can attribute roles, functions, and positions in society with a hierarchy of responsibility and duties and rights and whatever it is, but never with the perception that those with those, that needs to be some sort of authority. Okay, we understand that, because we need to have some sort of power over those that want to abuse, that want to take advantage, whatever, or to commit crimes against the common good, against the collective well-being, whether the crimes or the abuses are committed towards a specific individual, or for a group, or the society in general. We need to have means We need to have an authority with the ability, but that authority cannot have a monopoly. You know, we say that the state have the monopoly of violence, and now we are about to create kind of the monopoly of violence, but to privatize everything. The state is that's the the private the development of private public-private partnership. It is to privatize the functions of the state, which means it's not to privatize them in the sense, but is to use the state to protect the wealthy. To again, it is always the same problem that we don't we just go from bad to worse if we don't. Just think about an abuser. You know, usually if the victim has no ways to defend itself, or has no ways to protect itself, or no support, the abuser usually doesn't, unless there is a change in consciousness, the abuser is not going to become better or to behave more kindly just because the victim tries to appease the abuser. This is the same what we are witnessing in our societies. This is the same that the upper classes, the oligarchs and plutocrats, and the so-called tech bros are abusing, are the abusers, and the state is the victim. The state is being the victim because the functions of the state are being abused and used and abused by these people, because the ones that the government, which are supposed to be to manage the state for the collective good, for the sovereignty, but sovereignty only has meaning if it's for the collective good. Because what is the collective good? Is the good of the nation, the good of the country, the good of the institutions, the structural institutions, the infrastructure, the economy, the agriculture. The sovereignty is not a concept, is not about patriotism. It's about real stuff. Patriotism is fiction. You know, you have a fiction. I mean, it's a weaponization of our most patriotism is based on the weaponization of the of morality, of moral values about our that exist about our nation, about our culture, about our identity as a nation, or as a state, or as a country. So this is exactly what happens. And the problem is that we are missing, what we are missing is not information, as I said, not at all, is not the means to spread it, to communicate it, in spite of all the limitations. It is that we are under there is the war that is going on against us. That war, as I said, and I am going to say again, is a war made with weapons of mass deception and mass distraction. Um, where the exacerbation of individualism, mindless consumerism, celebrity culture, infotainment, all these distractions, all these short span, all this culture is based on the exploitation of frustration, of fear, of frustration because we feel frustrated because we cannot have enjoy the lifestyles of the celebrities that we cherish or envy. We feel frustrated because our lives are suck. Our jobs suck. It's if we want to have something that mimics what the celebrities, or the stars, the pop stars, the sports stars, the actors, and this and that, if they show us these lifestyles, this vanity, this, for the most part, there is good people, of course. There are these good people everywhere, in every field, in every occupation, never class level, professional level, whatever, of course. But we live in this. We are always in this stage that we don't want to feel and to think about our condition, which means that we don't want to have an identity, a class identity, because we aspire, we look up, we compare. We don't want to compare ourselves with the people that live like us. Sometimes we even despise them, or especially those that we perceive as being lesser than us, as if we are something more important or superior, when in fact we are not. We live trapped in these psycho-cognitive affective deceptions, lenses that are not natural. We have learned them. We have been instrumentalized to behave, to think, and feel, and behave, and act upon these principles and values, this framework, this mindset. And we always believe that we are just operating because of our rationality, our will. It's always that, as if our will, as if our thoughts, as if our feelings have no relation at all with the environment where we live, with the society, with the patterns we learn, with the signifiers, with everything. I mean, with the symbolic, the symbols, and the rituals, and everything else that we learn from society, that we acquire from society. They belong. They are part of us. They are part of our identity. And and since so we have this this disconnection that we instead of feeling and work consciously uh, um, this process of conscious transformation that we feel part of the many, and we have the same fight, and we need to come to a common understanding and to have values, to have to come together to have the to write down to think about values and principles that are for the common good, that are to build this economy. I mean, I talk about that the principles for a good economy, they need to be reciprocity and sufficiency. We can define what this means, and I don't want to give a definition because it's not I'm not going to say what really means, but it has to be reciprocity and sufficiency, which means that what doesn't respect the principle of reciprocity and sufficiency, and also the precautionary principle, should be discussed. We need to understand. We do need to live within our means, but we need to define what this is, what our means is. What do we need after the satisfaction of the basic needs? Health, food, shelter, safety, education, health, housing, all these things, that the basic things that we all need to have a dignified life. What else should we have? And what else should we have according to each age group? Because we have different needs and different perspectives of life, and different and we want different social experiences in different stages of our lives. And all these things can be defined, and we can come together to discuss what's really a good. It's not only a good economy. It's not a well-being economy. It's not only the economy. When we talk about the economy, everything is political. There is two things that we need to understand about the human species, about the human behavior. Everything for us is political and cultural and social. The economy is just the activity. It's just the process by which we satisfy our needs. Why should we satisfy our needs through exploiting others for profit? Okay? Why should it be right to transform private property rights, private proprietary rights, to transform and the accumulation of wealth, unlimited accumulation of wealth, in the top, the pinnacle of human development? Why? You are not going to be part of that group. We would destroy ourselves if we would all want to become part of this top. We would have the sociopathy, if the sociopathic traits, sociopathic, psychopathic, megalomaniacal, narcissistic, the cruelty, the indifference of these people to achieve their goals. They don't care about the means that they have to use. It would be impossible. Which means that they have to count. They have that advantage over us, over the rest of us, because they use all tricks and they build all tools and they engineer society in ways that transform us into tools, into instruments, that in order that we get some reward, some benefits, some social recognition, professional recognition, we align ourselves with them. And also because we don't like to do the jobs that are not dignified, that do not have. That's again a class problem. That's why I always say that for an understanding of society, we cannot separate society as, the top 1% or the top 0.1% and then the rest of us. No. The all layers and steps of the social ladder, they matter a lot. That's why they exist. Otherwise, if they would not matter to keep the majority of the bottom, let's say 50%, 60%, 70%, 80% of the population under control, with very living basically paycheck to paycheck, or even, as in many countries happen, 10%, 20%, 30% of the population, or even more, have to survive with less than that, basically deprived of the means to live, and not because in many cases there is no food or no technological means or no resources to make the lives of these people better. It's social engineering. They have to live like that because they live under manufactured scarcity, not natural scarcity. Okay? And I say this because this is where we need to focus ourselves, to understand the purpose of life. Because if we have disperse, we never, I take care of my own business. I take care of my career. I want to have a successful career. I want to raise a family properly, in the sense that I want to give to my kids or grandkids the best possibles, the best opportunities, or whatever, or I want to live as an inheritance as much as I can, and I don't care because society doesn't exist. Where do I take my wealth from? Where does my wealth comes from? This idea that I earn my wealth, but where does it come from? And I don't care, because as long as I feel safe, as I feel the system will function in a way that keeps my wealth safe, I don't care how others that are below my level from how they are doing. I might care in the sense that whatever humanity I have left makes me feel that this is unfair. But I'd say, oh, it's so. It's not nice that what can we do? There is so much wealth and so much poverty, but okay, we don't relate that the one is the cause of the other. And that's why technology, the advances in technology don't never, I mean, the advances in technology always have an impact in society, okay? That we have washing machines, and we have manufacturing technologies today that I mean, many transformations that have been that are technological. They benefit all of us, or at least those of us that have access to them, that can benefit with them. But that, again, it never changes the society, never changes the power paradigm, that never challenges the monopoly game, never changes the rentierism, the rentier class, which has been in the West, especially in America and the UK, have been growing since the 70s onwards. And we and we just think, okay, this is what it is. This is society doesn't exist. There is Tina. There is no alternative, and this and that, and we are trapped in this frame of mind, this mindset that doesn't allow us to open our perspectives, to open our analysis. But not only to open, but to build a comprehensive and a holistic comprehension, understanding of the reality of our societies. Because we need to have a good, a sound, a factual diagnosis in order to what are we supposed to do? Why don't we get together and organize? Why don't we have internationalism? Why don't we think about a global civilization? I mean, by global, I mean a civilization that we all across borders share a common set of values. And we have an economy and a society and science and civilizational principles that are followed for everyone for the common good, and for the that we do not wipe out, that we do not continue to wipe out life of this planet, that we don't commit ecocide as if there is no tomorrow. And why should we trust crooks? Yes, Elon Musk and Peter Thiel and so many, and Larry Fink and all these crooks. These people are crooks. They do not represent humanity. And they have power because we are not organized. That's the reason why they have power, not because there is no information or because there is no ways to communicate with each other. Is because they keep us. The real spell is they don't control our minds directly. Okay, that's the environment, that's the culture, that's the narratives, that's the patterns we learn, that's the habits. That's the normalization of and naturalization of absurdity that we can absorb, and we behave accordingly and adapt accordingly. And that's what we need to surpass. But we need to go through a conscious transformative process in order to understand it and to see the relevance of us getting together and discussing and being open, not being, not thinking that we know everything and we don't need each other, when in fact we all are, as I keep saying, pieces and bits of other people's knowledge and experience. Without the wealth, the knowledge, the ingenuity, the hard work, and everything else of the others, we don't stand in the shoulders of giants. That is bullshit. We stand always in the shoulders of the little people, of us all, and nature as well. That's where we stand. We are not supposed to stand in anything. We are supposed to be all upright, to stand upright, and take seriously the principle that we don't own anything. I take care of animals. Wherever I see an animal in stress or or angry, I try to do what is in my possibilities to do something about it. I don't want to own the animal. It's not the point. I just feel the responsibility to do what is in my ability to do what's right, to be gentle, to be compassionate. We don't cause unnecessary suffering just to make a point. We don't punish if it's not absolute necessity to punish. Of course, there is the need to. Don't get me wrong. I'm not I used to think that I was an anarchist. I'm not an anarchist. I don't stick any label in me. I just want to be a better human being and do the best I can to become a better human being, and to become and to understand that there are principles about the system where we live that they do the opposite. It doesn't matter how sophisticated you are. It doesn't matter how cultivated you are. It doesn't matter how, what is your position. That's why I always say another problem with us. And this is not about anarchism. It's not because I think people should not authority. As I used to say, we should not follow authorities. We should not follow leaders. We should not follow saviors and heroes and this and that and so on and so forth. Not because there are not good leaders or good authorities, but because we put ourselves in a secondary, in an inferior rank. And this is a problem. That's nothing to do with the need to, in a psychocognitive, effective way, to understand our sociocultural nature, to understand it as we, as this conscious, this conscious of our individuality, that allows us to think, and feel and act separated from others, but always under the perception that we are a social species, that there is nothing we can achieve. There is nothing about us that is not social, that is not relational. So it is so absurd to think that we are self-made, whatever you think it's self-made. I mean, I understand. There are people that they focus better, and but I mean, sometimes it's better. We tend uh, to um, to give a lot of value to value people that work hard, they are the achievers and this and that, when sometimes it would be better that we should do less. There's so many things that we do not need. They are obstacles. They just, I mean, because as I say, convenience, addiction to convenience, as addiction to consumption, as the acquisition of certain habits, they make us weaker. They don't make us happier. They don't make us function better or achieve a higher stage of consciousness. They just make us weaker and more dependent. And this is the bad. This is not good for us. That's why so many things. That's why we should understand the concept of 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 uh, of the reciprocity and sufficiency economy, and also the principle of the precautionary principle. Because there are many things we do that they don't make any sense. It's just because we live in this manufactured scarcity environment that makes us that, because we have allowed the enclosure of the commons, and we have been made dependent on jobs. They can tell me, why aren't you an entrepreneur? Why do you not? All of us can be entrepreneurs. If you are not entrepreneurs, because you don't want, you don't have the skills, you don't have the will, you don't have this, you don't have. As if we could all be entrepreneurs, and especially in the sense that so many entrepreneurs, what are they doing? What are these people in the financial sector? What kind of entrepreneurship is that? What kind of good is being produced to the society in general by Wall Street and the city of London, for example, and other places, but especially these two major markets, financial markets. I mean, and we live trapped. This is a trap. All this is traps, and that's why we need. It's not the question of information. It's how we process it. It's how we and we need to get together. I mean, this is not about a genius, a leader, a savior that will come and do what we are not able to do together. Because if we don't build that culture of liberation that we need, we cannot. I mean, this mentality to wait for saviors and leaders is not it doesn't work historically, because then even if it's a good leader or savior or whatever, it's going to die, and nobody guarantees that the ones that come after them are good enough or not crooks. I mean, that's why we cannot we need to feel responsible for the change we need, for the change we want and need and want. And that comes, that we need information, we need knowledge, we need ways to communicate it, but that's not enough if we do not do the most important move, which is the move towards action, which is the move towards getting together, which is the move not being sophists, that we just care about our opinions. What the point is to win the discussion. No, the point is to discuss, to clarify, and to find the best solutions. The point is not about celebrating anyone. It's about celebrating the ideas. It's about celebrating the clarity and truth and justice and trust. That's what we need to celebrate. That's why it's if we do not do it, and we need to do it at the individual level, this conscious transformative process at the individual level, but that's also do need to be at the group level, and it needs to become an internationalist movement, because we need internationalism. This is not only about changing in a particular country. This needs to be an internationalist movement, period. And we need to know what we want for a society, as what kind of society, what kind of civilization, what kind of economy it is, what we really want. And again, it's not about discussing what some luminaries, even some people have very good ideas when we should discuss them, but not as if they are if they are the ones that own the truth. As I say many times, people deserve our respect and sometimes our admiration. Period. Nothing else. Okay? Nothing else. No idolatry, no glorification, nothing. They have no superpowers. They are not better than us. They are just of whatever circumstances of their lives, whatever the specific skills or talents they have. They have the opportunity to develop ideas or systems or theories or whatever it is. That's it. Period. The thing is, the real issue is ourselves, how we perceive ourselves as socio-cultural beings. That is the real issue. How do we understand ourselves as socio-cultural beings? And what are the influences? What are the influences that are manipulating us in order that we become these lenses, these individualistic lenses, this is the pursuit of self-interest and all the rest that goes with it, that what our the survival of the fittest. Oh, it's not the survival of the fittest, it's the survival of the meanest. It's actually the survival of those that don't have the traits, that lack the essential traits that make us a socio-cultural species, especially a social species. And why should we glorify them and think about them as if they are the epitome of the intellectual, whatever it is? Why should we glorify? Why should we glorify the technofixism and technoscientism cult? We only have one thing that needs to be dignified. is our humanity. And it's our humanity in the web of life. And to build a culture that is not culture versus nature, but culture in the web of nature. And I would like us to build, to work on this as human beings, instead of allowing ourselves to be dehumanized to the core. It doesn't matter how sophisticated you are. Okay, I'm going to end it here. Thanks for listening. I mean, that's nobody listens. What can I do? All right. Thank you for listening. I will be back soon.